Hi, and welcome to That's Ruddy Mysterious, a podcast of short tales about true mysteries. What happened to the Flannan Isles Lightkeepers? Who was responsible for the Gardner Museum heist? I'm not going to solve those mysteries, but they'll be interesting to learn about. I'm your host, Kelly with an I. Transcripts for all episodes can be found at that'sruddymysterious.wordpress.com. No apostrophe and no exclamation point. Today's tale is about the Mojave Desert Megaphone. Eric Edwards, founder of Campsite Photos, has visited the Megaphone. He believes it was built more than 30 years ago, although he doesn't know why. He said, "My best guess is that it was put up there about 30 plus years ago. Although it is in two pieces, each piece is very heavy, but a few people could probably carry and drag it up there. Still, it would be very difficult and take a long time to get it up that hill." The Mojave Desert is between Las Vegas, Nevada and Los Angeles, California. It is bordered to the north by the Garlock Fault and to the southwest by the San Andreas Fault. To its west is the Sierra Nevada mountain range. The Sonoran Desert lies to its south and east. The two deserts can be differentiated by the amount and timing of precipitation. The Sonoran Desert gets most of its rain during the summer and winter, while the Mojave gets most of its precipitation during the winter and has much colder winter temperatures. While the Mojave does receive some precipitation, it is the driest desert in North America. At 20 million acres, the Mojave Desert is not all that large as far as deserts go. In a small corner of the Mojave Desert, near a ghost town named Crucero, California, lies quite the mystery. The Mojave Desert Megaphone, also known as the Sentinel Enigma, is located at 35 degrees 0 minutes 19.44 seconds north, 116 degrees 11 minutes 47.04 seconds west. The Megaphone sits in a remote corner of the Mojave Desert National Park. It can be found just west of Crucero Road, although there is no direct access. To reach the Megaphone, one must make a hike. The Megaphone can be accessed from I-15 via either the Basin Road or Razor Road exits. The Razor Road access requires a truck with good clearance, as some of the roadways have things sticking up almost 10 inches from the ground. Edwards said the Megaphone could be seen from the road. However, he said to reach it, someone would need to use a four-wheel drive vehicle and drive through the Mojave River, then on dirt roads and through sand. From Highway 15, exit Afton Canyon Road and go east to the campground. From there, continue another 13 to 15 miles, or 21 to 24 kilometers, east through the canyon and follow the railroad tracks. Turn right, south, on Crucero Road for a few miles, then start looking for it on top of a small hill. What would one be looking for? It looks like a giant megaphone. It's two giant horn-shaped pieces of metal welded together. There's a crosshair of metal pieces inside, and it points to a hill with petroglyphs engraved into the rock. It sits 8 feet long and is bolted to two rocks at the top of a 100-foot hill. It's constructed of iron pieces welded together. What was the purpose of this giant megaphone? That is a mystery. Edwards had some ideas. He said, "That's the big question. It has some similarities to a siren, circa 1940s and 1950s. But that seems unlikely. Still, the area was used to transport chemical agents on rail, and perhaps a siren was used if there was a mishap. There is some evidence to support this theory. The Megaphone is not far from the Nevada testing site where nuclear tests were done. It's about 150 miles from the testing site." He also has another theory. He said, "The desert, especially remote desert locations, are inherently mysterious. Often you'll find pristine areas with amazing views and beautiful, sometimes strange, geological formations. I think people like to put these strange objects in these locations because they add even more mystery and wonder. I doubt their intentions are to draw interest to any particular area, but rather to have a little fun and see how people might react." Sarah Roby is a professor at Idaho State University. She doesn't believe the megaphone was ever used as a siren. She said, "It's probably not a civil defense or air raid siren. The early Cold War versions almost always have a rectangular mouth. World War II era air raid sirens didn't really look like that either, even the ones that were more cylindrical. Moreover, you'd expect to find such civilian-oriented sirens in much more heavily populated areas than out in the desert." Roby has another idea as to what the purpose of the megaphone is. She said, "Its proximity to Edwards Air Force Base, as well as Navy and Army sites, is a much bigger clue. Edwards is where the Air Force did a lot of sound barrier experiments, including Chuck Yeager's famous flights. I could definitely see something like the megaphone being some sort of measuring instrument related to flight, shock, sound waves, etc. Even though the megaphone is 150 plus miles or 241 plus kilometers away, it's plausible that something like this could have been used to detect long-range shock waves or other disturbances. However, I kind of doubt it. Others have proposed other theories about the megaphone. Some think it was used by the US Army to amplify sirens. They believe that secret chemical tests were being conducted in the area and the megaphone was there in case of an accident. Others believe that some people used the megaphone as a drum, stretching a skin across the opening on one side and beating on it. Some believe it was part of a rocket system, while others say it is a pipeline venturi or an hourglass-shaped enclosure that regulates the flow of liquid. Some point to the crosshairs within the megaphone and say that it was used as a gun sight or other sighting device. Still others see the crosshairs as the X that marks the spot of a treasure, that is. Some believe that aliens left the megaphone behind. Some say it's nothing more than an art installation. Some even say that the megaphone was built by local people hundreds of years ago and note that it points towards the carved petroglyphs. This seems unlikely, however. Who built the Mojave Desert megaphone? Why did they build it? Is it really some sort of sighting device or siren for the military? Is it something much more benign like a drum or art installation? What do you think? Thanks for listening to today's episode of That's Ruddy Mysterious. I'm your host, Kelly with an I. Tune in next Tuesday for another thought-provoking tale.